Agroforestry is the integration of trees and agricultural enterprises. So rather than having a woodland or a forest in one place and a field of cows or a field of crops in another, you bring them together. One of the benefits of introducing diverse agroforestry systems into a farm is that overall the system will be more productive, but it's also more complex. In a monocropping situation, if that crop fails, you've lost everything for the year. In this field, we've got 19 different species of trees and nuts. Unusual things like organic quinces and organic almonds. At least one will fail every year, but what we hope is that 17 will work and 2 will fail, but they won't be the same 2 every year. So we might not get a massive yield of anything one year, but overall we have a resilient, productive system. Up in the alley cropping field, we've got Perry pears. They're going to be big, tall trees. So eventually they'll create quite a lot of shade and they'll stop the wind blowing. So for the cows underneath, they'll be providing shelter, shade. Also some of it will be browsing for the cows as well.
There are 3 important gases that we need to manage, and trees play an important part with all 3 of them. We have carbon sequestration, which is now widely recognised, but we also have nitrogen sequestration, where trees are capturing ammonia in the atmosphere from livestock systems. The third is methane, where animals allowed to browse on trees that are high in condensed tannins reduce the level of methane produced in digestion.
We started a box scheme 20 years ago and we had a good customer base who liked our produce of vegetables, and I thought, what else can we grow on the farm which is easy to sell? And we decided to plant a range of apple trees, and then we decided not to plant them in an orchard but to plant them in this system we have here, which is alleys of trees with crops in between. It's regenerative farming. Those trees are regenerating the soil, it's regenerating the biodiversity, the insects, seeing the bird life. The transformation in the last 20 years has been amazing, really. We have alleys of trees which allow the wildlife to come in. So beneficial insects, the hoverfly, the parasitic wasps have a place to come to, and especially the beetles. So when we plant the crops, there's lots of predators there available to come and predate the pests. The agroforestry system, producing apples and pears and plums, which we're selling, does definitely help the profitability of our farm because we have another range of produce to sell. It's a guaranteed income in that late autumn when actually we need a good income. We've got twin benefits here. We've got a wind shelter and we've got a useful wood for our wood burners. It's sort of like its own microclimate. It's amazing if you go in a more exposed field how, you know, the crops are like 2 weeks later, and actually 2 weeks in June makes a hell of a difference.
A lot of farmers want trees on their farms but don't necessarily know much about trees or have the money to plant them. I think there's a real opportunity for communities to come together, work with their local farmer, potentially to help fund the trees, potentially to look after them, and then maybe harvest it.
What we have here is a 50-acre field, and you can see the rows of trees that have been planted within that field. So what we're doing vertical farming as well as horizontal farming. The horizontal farming is your standard practice of farming, where you get a pretty uniform crop. Here it just happens to be oats at the moment. But what we're doing is growing a vertical crop as well. So we're getting additional cropping as well as the traditional arable crop. This was actually part of the tenancy agreement. We had to establish this agroforestry. Now, I didn't have the capital to do this. I have found subtenants who are willing to take on a strip of land and then plant their own trees. It's their asset, it's their capital input, and they take the produce from it.
We've planted 800 fruit trees. Each row is a different variety of apple. We helped decide on the orientation of the rows and the preparation of the soil, and then we've chosen the fruit varieties that are going to be grown. The overall yield in the field is higher than if we just had one crop. We need to produce enough food for an increased population, and we need to support biodiversity. And to my mind, agroforestry just solve those problems. That would be my hope, that every single farm has trees planted up across it, whether they're providing environmental services or actual crops or both.
The opportunity, I think, nationally to produce more from woody plants is huge. We import a lot of wood, we import a lot of fruit. We need to build a supply chain around agroforestry that creates employment, creates jobs, creates resilience. And it feels like we're suddenly at this crest of a wave, and that body of researchers that have been looking at it for 30 years, you know, they're finally getting recognised, and there's this groundswell of farmers just going, yeah, we want to do this. The Soil Association is bringing farmers together to share experiences, share knowledge, and linking them with the researchers who have that deeper understanding of the benefits of systems to help share that agroforestry knowledge.
People in other parts of the world do it all the time to help soil erosion or water retention. You know, this is not new technology. Before the last election, every party was talking about how many millions of trees they were going to grow. Everybody knows it's got to be a good thing. Well, why not turn it into a food producing thing as well?